So recently, a bunch of unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. 1. Did it have potential? And 2. How different would popular culture be if this pilot was picked up for series? Today, we're opening up the pilot vault and looking at a sitcom called Separated at Worth, an unaired pilot starring Kaley Cuoco. Now, if this show had been a hit, then Kaley Cuoco never would have been Penny in The Big Bang Theory, which aired the year after. She already nearly missed out on that role because Penny wasn't in the pilot for The Big Bang Theory, it was some other character. They brought her in later on, after the pilot. So if she had a sitcom to do as well, there's no way Kaley Cuoco would ever have been Penny. And 2 years after this pilot, Jane Lynch would be cast in Glee, a role that would transform her career and make her a household name. The careers of these two actors would have been drastically different had this show even had 2 seasons. It's mad because looking at the Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office pilot, 2 of the stars of that went on to be in Glee as well. If these shows had all been hits, imagine how different Glee would be. So what is Separated at Worth all about? Well, it focuses on 2 sisters who become roommates after growing up in separate households with opposite upbringings. So strap yourself in because we've got another Odd Couple ripoff. Kaley Cuoco stars as Gabby. Since this video will be focusing on how different things would have been had the sitcom been a hit, I think it's important for us to address whether or not she was actually good in this. So we'll get to that in a moment. The actor who plays the other sister, Tess, is Marissa Coughlan. This was probably intended to be a big break, and she hasn't really done anything of note since this pilot. You might recognise her from those few episodes of Boston Legal that she did. We start the pilot in the 70s, with a voiceover from Tess, talking about how her parents were hippies. Her mother is shown, and look who it is, it's Rhonda, the man maker from How I Met Your Mother. I recognise the dad from something as well, and they've aged him down really poorly, just stuck a wig on him like he's Dexter, but I can't quite place him. Does anyone know who he is? I think he usually wears glasses and has grey hair. He's not Cliff Main, is he, from Better Call Saul? Is it Cliff? I think he might be Cliff. I'm not certain. Let me know in the comments. He's not credited for it on IMDb, so I have no way of finding out, unless someone recognises him. Tess explains that while their parents used to be hippies, her dad wrote a book that became a hit when she was in college. So she grew up poor, but her family was rich when her younger sister Gabby was growing up. That's why this show is called Separated at Worth, because they grew up in very different financial situations. I wonder what came first, the idea for the show or the pun? It was the pun, wasn't it? I know it was, I just know it. Look how terrifying this photo of Kaley Cuoco is. I might get this printed and give it to me mate for Christmas. We are shown Tess at work. These colleagues were meant to be season regulars, and neither of them are very funny. This news anchor in particular clearly thinks he's playing the next great comedy character, but really he's just doing a funny voice and pulling some faces. Tess's boss is played by Jane Lynch. It's mad how this was before she made it big. Back then she'd only filmed a few appearances on 2.5 Men, the show that earned her first Emmy. If this show was a hit, maybe her schedule would have been too busy to film future appearances on that show, who knows? Jane Lynch has absolutely nothing to do in this pilot, so it would be a real shame if she missed out on roles like Glee and an Emmy for 2.5 Men for this boring one-note character. Even she looks bored when she's playing her. This other dude, he's not as annoying as the anchor, and he's a lot more natural when it comes to acting, but he's still not funny. I don't think he delivered a single good joke here. To be honest, I don't think in this entire episode anyone delivered a single good joke. Tess returns home to find Kaley Cuoco has moved in after being kicked out of college. She cheated by buying an essay from someone and her tutor found out and kicked her out for it. Tess gets a call from the station telling her to go back. Where is it with pilots and having people run from one side of town to the other, then back to the other side? Was it really necessary for it to go home, then come back? This was just a way to force more workplace into the story, wasn't it? These guys aren't funny, stop trying to force them into the pilot.
Oh, I love your teeth. They're so unnaturally white.
This news anchor returns. He's incredibly annoying. Just a crap actor, and even worse at being a comedy actor. Do you know how you do a really good news anchor in a sitcom? Charles Kimbrough from Murphy Brown. He was that perfect mix of bombastic, funny, and reserved. That's how you play a comedy news anchor character, not whatever this is. I'm looking at the guy's IMDb now, and he took a serious break from acting in the 2010s. So he either stopped getting offers on account of him being a terrible actor, or he took the time off to serve a jail sentence of some kind. I could easily be convinced that either one is true. We then meet a potential love interest for Tess. Gabby says this about him.
Oh, you look like you could be on Lost.
Now, that's interesting, because Lost had only been on the air for 1 year at this point. Was it really that much of a hit that it was being referenced in sitcoms after its first season? I thought it took a while to get popular, but apparently no. This guy, I don't know his name because they never say each other's names in these pilots. How did they expect us to learn them if they never say them? Anyway, he's very boring and one note. Every joke he delivers is basically, I'm a terrible father, and he just repeats that until his time is up. It's not funny. Gabby is staying at the Four Seasons, not the landscaping company. See Trump, even someone as stupid as Gabby can get that right. Tess goes to her and apologises for... well, it's not really clear. Gabby is a spoiled brat and Tess is doing nothing but enabling her. Kaley Cuoco plays her all fine, don't get me wrong, but the character is awful. Gabby is getting a massage, and I can't help but wonder if this extra got paid extra for saying, ooh.
I'd be on the air right now. Ooh.
And the Oscar goes to...
If anyone knows it, please ask. I have to know. I don't know why I need to know, but I do. The workplace stuff is the weakest part of this show. There's definitely more potential in the relationship between Tess and Gabby, probably because the two actors who play the sisters are infinitely better than the two actors in the workplace. I am very surprised he didn't try to force her into the workplace a little more by making Gabby get a job there. Usually these shows start with a rich person being cut off, like Rachel cutting herself off from her father's money in the pilot of Friends. But the parents are fine with continuing to give her loads of money. I feel like every problem faced in future episodes could easily be addressed by their parents throwing money at her. That's why you take the money away from a guy in a sitcom. Very confusing how they just kept her being spoiled and that was the thing. I've just figured out why they kept her being spoiled. Because they came up with the title, didn't they? They came up with the title and then just worked backwards. Good lord. The episode ends with Gabby moving into Tessa's apartment, and it even set up potential storylines with the guy across the hall, since they both fancy him. I'm sure we would have eventually had him date both characters in different seasons, and he'd end up with the one we expected the least. You know, typical sitcom stuff. So was Kaley Cuoco good in this pilot? Well, from the moment the pilot started, it was clear that Kaley Cuoco has incredible potential in a sitcom. Her portrayal of Gabby immediately showcased her comedic timing and natural charm. Kaley effortlessly brought this character to life. Her expressive facial expressions and spot-on delivery of her lines made it clear that she had a bright sitcom future. Honestly, pause it at any frame when Kaley is acting, and she's pulling a different expression. So yeah, her likability shone through her character. Kaley Cuoco has this wonderful way of being likeable. I don't know what she's like in real life, I haven't heard good things, but it was clear in this pilot that she just had that it factor. She so obviously has that quality to carry a sitcom. A year after this, Big Bang Theory premiered, and Kaley Cuoco landed the role of Penny. It wasn't that different from Gabby. She played season 1 Penny pretty similar to how she played Gabby, if we're being honest. It was only as that show went on that she dialed down Penny's airheadedness, instead playing her as very sarcastic and like laid back. But let's be honest, it's mostly because she couldn't be bothered putting the effort in anymore. I wonder if she would have done that if this show had been on a multiple season run. I can't imagine Gabby being as hardened as Penny was in the later seasons of The Big Bang Theory. So where does this sitcom rank among the other unaired pilots I have talked about? Well, honestly, Cuoco and Coolin, that sounds like a law firm, doesn't it? They were the only redeeming qualities of this show. The jokes were incredibly unfunny. At least playing chicken got a chuckle out of me. Honestly, I think this kicks Queen Bee off the bottom spot of the ranking. At least that show had an excuse for not making as many jokes. It was a comedy, but it wasn't a sitcom. But this show was a sitcom, and yet they had terrible supporting characters and not even a single joke where I exhaled out of my nose and went, ah, that was a joke, I get it. Dreadful writing. So yeah, well done Queen Bee, you've been promoted. This is the worst unaired pilot I've seen so far. If you want me to talk about more unaired pilots, then subscribe. Help us reach 4K. Right, I'm gonna let you go. Bye.